Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Holy shite, I say. The New York Liberty have sent Sandy Brondello packing. And this opens up a huge opportunity for you-know-who. Let's talk about it. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Of course, shout out to the 19, which is all of you. Thank you for being here. Let's dig in. After an early exit, a first-round loss, the New York Liberty have parted ways with head coach Sandy Brondello. Yes, the same Sandy who won them a championship just last season. There has to be, although we have no inkling, no whiff of anything going on behind the scenes, but you would think there would have to be. Otherwise, you are wondering what the hell the New York Liberty is doing in this situation, why you would get rid of such a successful coach. Not look, did they have the same record they had last year? No. Did they have a good record? Were they a top team? Yes, they were 27-17 this season. Did they have a shot at going deep into the playoffs? Yes, they absolutely did. Do teams who go, I don't know, 32-8 and win a title always have just as good a year next year and continue to win title after title after title? Absolutely not. I mean, how many three-peats? I know we're only talking back to back here, but how many three-peats? There's a reason we hear about three-peats and what a big deal it is because it so rarely happens, right? The NFL's never had it. The NBA's had a few. I think there might have been a few in hockey with some of those powerhouses if we go way back and look at I think the Gretzky-led Oilers did it, but it's definitely not a common theme. Even back to back is not a common theme. And there are a lot of teams out there you can say, hey, they never even won a championship. Or, I don't know, we can look at the Dallas Cowboys and say, hey, they haven't even sniffed an opportunity at a chance, at the possibility of a Super Bowl in 30 years. Hey, Cowboys fans. So this is kind of wild that New York did this. I think they did Sandy dirty in this situation. I tried to find it and I couldn't. Let me know in the comments below if you have, because I saw the other day. I didn't think a whole lot of it other than, it was kind of nasty work where a reporter actually asked Breanna Stewart about the coach coming back with the coach sitting right next to Breanna Stewart. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but she seems to have that connection with her players. So I don't know about any behind the scenes drama. We know she's a huge fan of Caitlin Clark and the way Caitlin Clark plays basketball. We know what she helped do with Sabrina Ionescu on the New York Liberty. It seems, and hey, who knows? I don't know about the New York Liberty management and ownership, but just asking the question because it seems as if Sandy is all about the basketball, and I wonder if that is something for which she is being punished with this fire and say, hey, you know what? If you're going to be all about the basketball, you got to win a title every single year. But the New York Liberty picked this up. We've got this here. Obvious. I mean, the New York Post picked this up. Liberty fire head coach Sandy Brondello just 1 year after winning WNBA title. Yeah, that's right. The Liberty fired Brondello, the winningest coach in the franchise's history. And again, by the way, this isn't after she won a title and they had 4 or 5 years of where they struggled and they're maybe around 500 and maybe they missed the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years or whatever it might be. This is a woman who's the winningest coach in franchise history, who just won a title last year, who had a good team this year, that just didn't win a title again. They got back into the playoffs. They had their opportunity and it just didn't happen. And New York has said, nah, you know what? We are going to move on from our winningest coach in franchise history. We would like to thank Sandy Brondello for her everlasting impact on the New York Liberty. General Manager Jonathan Kolb said in a statement, Sandy finishes her tenure in New York as the winningest coach in franchise history, and she took us to never before seen heights as the first head coach to lead the Liberty to a championship. We wish Sandy the very best in her next chapter. Liberty got off to a franchise best start, winning 9 straight games, only to stumble over the next 3 months to finish in 5th place. Hey, who was that first loss to? Did anyone remember? Anyone remember that game? Of just I don't know. I mean, let me know in the comments below if you remember that game and how that went. New York embraced being the underdog, but ultimately were bounced in the first round of the playoffs on September 19th. So look, man, there's no doubt that if you're an organization that's dedicated to actually winning and that is your goal, and it seems to be very few franchises run with that in mind in all sports. This is not a shot at the WNBA at all, but my point being, it can be a nasty, nasty business. I believe George Karl, correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been 1 year removed, but I think it was literally during the season, the very next season after he had won NBA Coach of the Year, he was fired. Now, of course, it was with a disaster start and there was other stuff going on, but this is an unusual situation for sure, and it is kind of wild to see the New York Liberty do this. I mean, if we look at Sandy, Sandy has a long, long track record of success, folks. She has been coaching in the WNBA for a long, long time. Her winning percentage is 600. This is over 452 games, 271 and 181. Took over the Liberty in 2022. They went 16-20. Followed that up with 2 years of 32-8. Got to the finals in her second year at 32-8. Won the championship the next year, 32-8, and then had a 27-17 season, a solid season. Again, finished 5th, but had a very solid season. Again, her players seem to like her. She seems to be all about the basketball. So what does that mean? Well, folks, I'm going to say it. I know a lot of people might not want to when you see what the Indiana Fever have done now, but I said this in a video recently. Despite the looks, this is a Fever team with a whole lot of talent and a talented roster. And despite this run at the end of the season, because again, remember, they only went 16-15 without Caitlin Clark, okay, overall. So, this wasn't a dominating thing. I'm sorry, but the coaching performance, separate from the way the players are playing, Stephanie White has still not shown to me that she is the coach. She might be the coach for Kelsey Mitchell because Kelsey Mitchell is allowed to do whatever she wants. But if you are a Caitlin Clark fan and you want to see a team led by Caitlin Clark and you want to see Caitlin Clark be the best player she can be, playing the way she needs to play, that elevates the entire team, I don't think Stephanie White is that coach. Sandy Brondello will allow Caitlin Clark to be Caitlin Clark, and she will get the most out of Caitlin Clark. And that will not only elevate Caitlin Clark, again, so this isn't an entirely selfish thing for the fans to see Caitlin play like Caitlin, but it will elevate the entire league. Again, we've talked about this. I did it in the video the other day. Asia Wilson, 6'4", 6'5", Asia Wilson, standing in the perfect spot on her strong side to lay the ball into the basket with no defense, and she literally put the ball up over the box and completely missed the rim on a layup that she should make 96 times out of 100 with her eyes closed. That's the product on the court. That's the supposed MVP of the league. It's got to get better. Indiana Fever. Now, Sandy might get snatched up before their season's over, but the Indiana Fever need to hire this woman. I'm saying it. I know I'm going to get some people mad, but going forward, again, I just said about what a harsh business it is. I mentioned what happened to George Karl. You see what's happening here. Yeah, it's a harsh business. And you can look and say, hey, you know what? Stephanie White deserves. I get it. But Sandy Brondello is going to be available. How do you not make that switch? That is what I want to know. Because again, we look at Stephanie White. She's inherited 2 very good teams. Okay. She hasn't been around very long. She's inherited 2 very good teams. Indiana stuck there for 2 seasons, then went to Vandy, then came back and went to a very good Connecticut team and stayed there for 2 seasons. And now her year in Indiana. But a lot of people forget that in between all that was a disaster at Vanderbilt, where she was 64-97. and a whole lot of players left, and there seems to be a whole lot of smoke as to why they left. The reason being Stephanie White. And a lot of people are wondering, like, New York, what is it you're doing, right? We go down here. Uh, Shout out to Evelyn. I know she's a supporter of one of the 19. I appreciate you. Nasty work, New York. Just because you couldn't win back-to-back championships, come to Indy, Sandy. We like to play fast and free. Yeah, there you go. I know it's a business, but damn, this is so bad. Brought your organization its first championship and then dropped her, even though they made the playoffs this year. Meanwhile, the head coaches for Chicago and Dallas get to keep their jobs. A joke. Won y'all a championship last year, and this is how you do her, and on and on and on. So there is a whole lot of that. I understand the sentiment, and I get it. I get it. People are going to get mad in these comments about, oh, you just don't like Stephanie White. Again, step back. I can appreciate where the Fever are, but it is about winning. This is why you see sometimes where teams let, great players go in free agency or they make trades because ultimately they believe that the situation is going to be better for the franchise and it's going to get them closer to winning a title. They're not always right, and it may not always work out. But a well run franchise, that is the goal. So when you look at who is available, I get it. If Sandy hadn't been fired in this offseason and you don't get somebody like a Mark Jackson or a Larry Bird who says, hey, you know what? I'm going to come out for this headache, for the low pay, and I'm going to do this because I want the opportunity to coach Caitlin Clark. If you don't have that, you're looking around at who's available and who's willing to coach in the WNBA, and you go, you know what? Probably not worth the switch. Stephanie White, we'll say she earned another season. We'll see what happens, especially with Caitlin Clark being healthy, and we'll make the judgment from that. But all of a sudden, the Sandy's available. I'm not sure how you can pass up the opportunity. And yes, it is a risk. I get it, especially when you've got players who like the current coach. But that doesn't always get it done. Believe it or not, we take a step back from our fields. It's important at times to play for a coach that you appreciate. But what ultimately matters is playing for a coach, whether you like them or not, a coach that gets the best out of you and puts you in the best position to win. That is what matters. I've even had that conversations with young players, okay, to make them understand. Now, I don't mean, oh, that means they're going to be abusive and yell and scream and all that, but that we will have conversations at time, and I will, ask you about doing certain things on the field or this and that because I want to make you the best player you can be. And so you may not always like me because of the message I bring to you, even if I deliver it as nicely as possible. But I'm okay with that. And I need to be okay with that. And you as a player need to be okay with that when we both have the same goal of making you the best player that you can possibly be on, the best team that you can possibly be on. So this is kind of wild to me. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the season. Obviously, still got 4 teams playing. And maybe, I don't know, maybe some teams like, Chicago and Dallas now say, hey, you know what? Maybe we're going to rethink the whole bringing back these coaches thing with Sandy's available. Maybe we're going to reach out to Sandy and see what the chances are that she would be willing to come here. And if she says, yeah, you know what? I'd be interested. Maybe we see a coaching change in Chicago or in Dallas that we would not have seen otherwise, because this doesn't change things. Obviously, I'm focusing on Clark and the Fever, but this doesn't change things just for them. This could change things for other teams as well who were thinking of keeping their coach, that they may now say, yeah, you know what? We got to go get Sandy, right? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you checking out this video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Really do appreciate it. Go have the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.